So we've talked to you. We've talked to people that cover the Patriots, and we'll talk about it this way. Jacoby Brissett's going to be the starter of this team. Drake Maye is the future of this team. Here we go. Jacoby Brissett goes down. He hurts his shoulder yesterday. Drake Maye comes in the game. It's a preseason game. Who cares? Drake Maye was going to play anyway. Joe Milton at the end of the game comes in. He's terrible. He was terrible in college, and this is just a continuation of that. What a lot of you guys have been saying is that you don't think Bailey Zappi makes the team, and that they would carry 3 quarterbacks, and those quarterbacks would be Brissett, with Maye being the backup and Milton being the third-string quarterback. And one of the reasons for that is that Milton might not clear waivers to go onto a practice squad. Has your mind changed at all now that preseason's over?
It's not changed for the reason you just mentioned, which is, they're so worried that someone's going to claim him a fourth-string quarterback on a team that picked third last April. It's more to the fact that I think they still see a lot of clay that can be molded there, even though, to your point, he was 5-6 years in college, 24-year-old kid, and we all watched him go 5-17 last night. I think the question they have to ask now is the one I pointed out at the beginning of the summer, saying, hey, don't rule out Bailey Zappi for the same reason Jacoby Brissett is here, which is, honestly, to take the hits. It's to stand in the way of danger for Drake Maye. So they believe, and Alex Van Pelt said this on the record last week, that they're ready. He can protect himself. And so I don't think they believe that quite yet. So you're going, okay, if Brissett's down, which by all accounts it seems like he should be okay, but we'll get an update at 9:30 from Gerard Mayo. Who would be the next guy to stand in the way for Drake? Because Gerard said last night, I'm not sure if we would play him if Brissett was unavailable in a regular season game.
That says a lot for a head coach to actually tell the media that. I mean, maybe I've been brainwashed from the last 20 years, but for a head coach to actually say, I'm not sure we can put that kid out there, even though he's clearly the best quarterback you have, speaks volumes about how bad this offensive line is. There was so much evidence that this is the worst offensive line in football last night. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Well, I want to go back to the comment first, because there was another part about that seemed to tip the hand of the whole quote-unquote quarterback competition. He called Drake Maye the second best quarterback in the room, and then said the best players will play. To me, that says it's over. It's done. Jacoby Brissett will start week 1. And so to your point, yeah, we've never heard that before. We're all recovering here in the post-Belichick era.
Sure.
But as far as the offensive line, no, I have not seen 8 penalties in a first half and 10 penalties for an entire offensive line in a game, let alone a game against Washington's backups.
Chuks Okorafor lined up incorrectly 3 times in that game, cost him a touchdown.
Yeah.
I've never seen that from a left tackle.
So we were talking about this, and Joe Murray had been saying, like, look, all preseason, I think the line is lining up too deep and incorrectly. Is this just the case of a lineman losing his mind, or is this the Patriots are trying to do something schematically that's just not working?
No, it's not schematic. This is an NFL player, I believe, staring down a referee in the way that when your parents just said, I'm going to count to 3, and you just went, okay. And then they got to 3, and then you got grounded for 1 week. And then it was another week. And then it was a third week, because you just can't do this. Like, this is
right.
a real benefit to the offense, especially in pass protection. I'm going to start all the way back here in a way that's illegal so that I have more time to react and more space to kind of cover. And that's just, he just refused to do it, which was odd because we didn't see that in the first 2 games, right? I didn't see it in any practices. We had plenty of refs down in Foxborough. But last night he goes, yeah, count to 3. That's fine. Go ahead.
This is not a rookie. This is a guy who's played in the league for a few years, was a starter at that position for Pittsburgh.
Okay, but this is really interesting. Your take on this is really interesting. So you think he just was like, F you, like, I'm just going to do this? and then because it was a preseason game, and it didn't really count, do you think, like, what was going through his mind?
So I think this is the more obvious, clear-cut, but less damaging version of like a holding penalty, right? Like everyone says, there's holding on every single play. A lot of offensive linemen, even, Kendra Jawant Taylor used to get like the half-second false start.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, if I keep doing this every play, you're not going to call it. Here's the problem. When we can see it on TV, when Joe Murray can spot it being like, he's way too far back, they're going to call it. And when your last name's Hockley, which was the referee last night, Sean Hockley, son of Ed, who wants to be up there and let you know he's been in the gym all summer. He's ready to go. He's been on his grind. He's going to throw the flag and flex on you and then drop in one of the penalties, once again, illegal formation, which I have never heard in my entire life. Again, a referee reprimand a player like he's a parent going, once again, I got to 3 and you're still standing here.
Right.
I said that this morning. I have never heard that in my life. I said that when we got on and played it. Never.
Hilarious.
Never.
You want to hear the worst take of the day? John said that he thought that Hockley was saying that because he felt sorry for him. Which is like...
Well, he's not mad, Fred. He's disappointed.
Right. Like, I think calling him out would be more humiliating to the Gent. Because I don't think in preseason games people are going, is that the third time the guy's been called for that? All right. So the offensive line is bad. Because I want to play the hits right away. So with the quarterback situation, what do you think Drake Maye, best case scenario, when he would play this year, start a football game? Because you don't want him coming in as a backup, right? You agree on that, or do you not care?
I think they could get away with it for a game or two. Long term, this is a problem.
Okay, but are there going to be, because Kendra mentioned it, like, are there going to be like decent backups available, veteran backups available, if Brissett gets hurt, that can learn the system very quickly and start playing pretty soon?
So I wish I had a definitive answer, because there are surprise cuts every single year.
Yeah.
I think the things working against the Patriots are, hey, if you have a good quarterback, even if they're a backup, you just keep them. It's like offensive tackles. Everyone's like, oh, grab one on the waiver wire. Okay, tell me who. I don't know. The thing working in their favor, though, is this system, unlike the last one, when the Josh McDaniels offense by the end was just crushed under its own weight, essentially, because it was too complicated, too complex. If you've been in an adjacent system, you can pick this up. So the other part is they don't need a quarterback to even be decent, I would argue. You just need to be better than Bailey Zappi, because they might cut Joe Milton. They might cut Bailey Zappi as well, and then bank on that third quarterback. And the way that we've seen them both perform, Milton maybe long-term is encouraging if you want to give him another year or two, but I think they would happily take someone, let's say, and last year he was good, but Joe Flacco is nearing 40. Mm-hmm. The Colts are going to keep him.
Right.
But someone of that ilk, been in the system, past his prime, but can at least function and protect the ball.
The only person I could really think of right now is, and it's kind of depend what happens in Cleveland. If they wind up keeping Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Tyler Huntley isn't the veteran status of someone like Joe Flacco, but he's been around the league. He's played under Lamar Jackson. Yeah. I could see him coming in if that is a surprise cut, because they're probably not going to carry four quarterbacks, I assume.
Say they do that, how long once they bring him in until he can start a game? Like, not just him in particular, but like just how long until a guy can start a game? Because you're not concerned about Maye finishing the game that the starter got hurt in, but if you bring in another quarterback, how much run-up does he need before he can start?
Yeah, I would say it depends on the player, right? Joe Flacco says, I don't even need to show up for the Wednesday practice. I'll show up on Friday, give me the game plan, and we'll just go. I've been around that long. But if you do bring in a player, let's say Wednesday, they claim him in, he gets the first flight to Logan, and then you have, from that point on, a week and a half to learn the whole system. Then you get into the first game, which is basically one chapter of the playbook. We're going to use these specific plays. It's all you need to know. The checks, the calls, bounces, whatever. But by that point, I think we should know and step back for a second. Jacoby Brissett should be fine, based on the indications we have so far. Didn't leave the game, didn't get an examination.
Right.
Gerard Mayo said he could continue. So let's call that then not 1.5 weeks, but 2.5, 3. To me, that's enough for a quarterback to come in, learn enough of the system, and then get game plan specific to say, okay, by week 2, I could be your backup.
So
So you bring him in, he's with the team a week, and then there's a game, and then the following game he could start.
Right, but also the Patriots might, as you practice for that long with Drake Maye, who, by the way, in training camp, behind a worse offensive line than the one we saw last night, because he had the backups all summer, had a lower sack rate in practice than Jacoby Brissett. So he, at least physically, not just because he's faster, but his pocket presence indicates to me he's got a better plan B against pressure than Jacoby Brissett. You just, of course, don't want to expose him to the sack he took against the Eagles when he gets blindsided by Nolan Smith. That's
the biggest problem. But we kind of skipped over Bailey Zappi. What are the Patriots going to do here in the next 36 hours? Are they going to try and Are they going to cut Milton? Are they going to try and sneak it through to the practice squad? Are they going to cut Zappi? What's your feeling?
The only thing I can say for certainty, and going into last night, I said they cut Bailey Zappi, they'd keep Joe Milton. The Brissett injury, this kind of preview of coming attractions, possibly, but hopefully not, changes that math, right? I think they could sneak either of them onto the practice squad. I don't think anyone is eager to claim Bailey Zappi, who also got cut last summer, we forget, ended on the practice squad, and then was, quote, 4-4 as a starter. We all watch those games. He threw more picks than touchdowns, had 5 turnovers in the last 2 weeks. That's not anyone is eager to grab right now from maybe the worst team in the AFC.
Yeah. All right. So But that is good news for Patriots fans that you have seen this, that Drake Maye, from the first time you saw him this offseason till now, has had quite an improvement. Like now you see things in him that make him special.
I mean, special we're not going to know until we're on Sunday, right?
So, okay,
but
I'm sorry the way I put it. Like, I know you guys watch a lot of football and watch a lot of practices, so obviously there are some guys that go out there and just look different. For instance, does Drake Maye look different than Mac Jones did?
Yes.
Okay. So should Patriot fans, based on his progress, be excited about a possibility of a future with Drake Maye?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think you even need a whole game or a half or drive, whatever he played recently, to see that. The ball just explodes out of his hand. Like, he made even that touchdown pass to Kevin Harris. Kevin Harris does most of the work there, but he zipped that ball in a way that Mac Jones never would have been able to complete.
The arm strength. We saw Jones go from the far side to the near sideline and get that ball picked off 10 times out of 10 because it looked like a balloon floating down. That kid, Maye, has a cannon. He can get away with that, and they mentioned it on the TV broadcast. His feet weren't set right, but he was still able to make up for it with the incredible arm strength he has, and that's why it was a touchdown.
So, Kendra, you watch all these guys in college. When you see Drake Maye, because I don't know the guys you work with, what their feelings are, but did you think coming out of college that Drake Maye was going to be, that he's physically incredibly gifted?
So, yeah, I think that's the big thing with him, right, is that one of his comps was Josh Allen. He has the same, kind of body type as Josh Allen. He's a big guy. He's 6'5"?
Yeah, 6'4", but
yeah, he's a big kid. He can take a hit if he needs to, but that's not what you want to do to him. I actually think that not his last season at UNC, but his season prior was the more impressive season from him. And he did, he was without Tez Walker for a majority of the beginning of the season at UNC, who kind of seemed to be his security blanket at times down the stretch. I think that he is the ceiling with Drake is incredible. But the thing is that if you go out there and you risk that kid's confidence with lack of talent at receiver, which, like I've said a few times on a couple different shows, I do think that that's been somewhat of a bright spot so far this preseason. I just think that if that kid's getting hit all the time, like you're looking at Mac Jones again, just as far as a confidence perspective.
Now, do you agree? Because we'll get into the other positions and the receivers and everything, but you tend to agree with that. Like he has everything physically he needs to be like a top 15 NFL quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say top 10 if we're just going physical traits.
Right.
So one thing I'll note, though, because when you have him stood up against Joe Milton, and if you knew nothing about football or playing quarterback, you'd be like, who's the more impressive physical player? And then watch them throw a football, you would pick Joe Milton.
Right.
It's the ease with which Drake Maye is making these reads in these plays. Like, there's a natural, I belong here kind of feel. I'm not sped up. I'm not rushed. Even when he gets sacked or loses a snap, which he did the last two preseason games, he bounces back and converts second and long, third and long, and then marches to a score. Like, that's a guy who's very comfortable in a highly competitive, I would say dangerous right now with this offensive line setting. That's what you need more, and that's what they were missing at the end with Mac Jones, whose wires were just fried for the reasons that Kendra mentioned, and kind of saying we should play the slow game with Drake Maye.
All right, listen, good stuff from all of you. Again, man, if I'm a Patriot fan, I'm pretty excited. I hear people like the season's gonna be boring. They're not gonna win any games, but the season last year was the most boring football I've ever seen. I'm 49 years old, and let's say I've been watching football since I was 7. I swear to God, non-hyperbole, that was the most boring team. Those games were impossible to watch. If you watch Game 17 against the Jets from tip to tail, you have some OCD or you were at a gun to your head, because that might be the worst football game I've ever seen. And I like the Jets, but I had to end up going to a bar, and I don't even drink, where other games were on, because I didn't want to. I wanted to keep an eye on it, but I couldn't commit.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.